You're listening to Opera Box Score.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Wherever you are, however you're listening, it's America's talk radio show about opera. It's Opera Box Score. I'm Weston Williams, joined by Oliver Camacho and Ashley Hardgrave. All right, this week we go inside the huddle with Elizabeth DeShong, who has entered the She Can Sing Anything stage of her career, set to return to Chicago next month for Alcina, Haymarket Opera's debut at Ravinia Festival. The American mezzo and bel canto boss reveals the role she is dying to sing. And then they say we had no idea, which to us means they haven't been listening to Opera Box Score. Yes, classical music does have a sexual abuse problem, and in other news, Serena Williams is good at tennis. Plus, in the 2-minute drill, Zachary Woolfe's being booted from the classical music section at the New York Times. And, we do need another co-host. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast. On Spotify, click follow. On Apple Podcasts, hit the plus sign. Email us your hot takes by writing to mailbag@operaboxscore.com or upload a voice memo using the You Got Something to Say tab on our website, operaboxscore.com. However you contribute, you'll get an OBS beer coaster, an OBS lapel pin, and a #1 OBS fan foam finger just for sharing your own hot take. And without further ado, Oliver Camacho, you are looking radiant.
It's my Des Moines Metro Opera afterglow. It's probably the humidity that still hasn't dried off from me. It's very swampy for some reason in Des Moines. But I had a really lovely weekend. I got to see The Rake's Progress with Jonas Hacker, Vivica Jeannot as Baba the Turk, and the exquisite Joelle Harvey as Anne Trulove. And I knew that this was going to be the reason to go, that just hearing Joelle Harvey sing that music would be enough. But it somehow actually exceeded my expectations. She was like it. I'm going to say it right now. This is officially still the 2024-25 season. Is like the back half of the 2025 season. I think Joelle Harvey as Anne Trulove was the best performance of the 2024-2025 season.
Really?
Of all the things that I saw. Yes. I still got a month left. There's still a couple operas at Santa Fe I'm going to sing. Yeah. Maybe Ryan Speedo Green as Wotan will change my mind, but me and Wotan are not exactly best friends, But no, that production was so incredible. And then the next day, something a little bit lighter fare, Cunning Little Vixen, with Hera Haiseng Park, friend of the show, as Vixen, and Sun-Lee Pierce as Fox. And I'm hoping to get an interview with Sun-Lee while I'm in Santa Fe. I just want to thank the Des Moines staff. I think they were competing with Opera Theater St. Louis in rolling out the red carpet. I was treated so nicely by Alan Perriello and Scott Ahrens, and even just their regular people in the box office and whatnot. They were all so nice to me. I don't know if they knew who I was, or if they're just nice to everybody because they're Iowa nice. I'll never know. And I also want to congratulate the Des Moines young artists who I was there to see their Stars of Tomorrow concert. Lots of standouts, but the one name that I won't forget from that performance is soprano Daniela Machado, who sang the duet from L'Amico Fritz, the Cherry Duet. And I was just stunned at how ready she sounded. I would have paid to hear that performance. And it turns out she went to Rice. So there was a couple other Rice. Yeah, a couple other Rice students in the program, and they were categorically good. You know who you are.
Speaking of categorically good, Ashley Hardgrave, what have you been up to this past week?
I've had a lot of eyes on basketball, which is not usually my bag, but we are coming off the WNBA All-Star Weekend, which means all of the eyes of the sports world, since we're in kind of a lull, were there. The outfits were outfitting, the players were playing, and the pay conversations were absolutely pay conversations, completely down to all of the athletes coming out onto the court for warm-up at the All-Star game, both sides of the court, wearing t-shirts that were black, and in white script it said, "Pay us what you owe us." So definitely that's a conversation that's continuing to be had for WNBA players. Also on the other side, this is a good call, but I just can't wait since I'm talking about the NBA and basketball in general. So there is a blind NBA game experience. So basically, NBA Launchpad company One Court has teamed up with the Blind Center of Nevada, and they hosted this summer league watch party for blind and low vision basketball fans. So One Court has built this thing called a tactile broadcast, and it's basically like a small platform that is on a tabletop, and it's kind of a version of a basketball court. And so blind and low vision fans can feel the game as it's being played. It's incredible. Yeah. So like there's the court and they've got the two hoops. And so if you're feeling the hoop and it vibrates once, that means somebody's taken a shot. If it vibrates multiple times, it means that they score. It's the most incredible thing. The NBA posted a reel of it on Instagram. We can put it up on our site. But seriously, it's just one of the most wonderful, heartwarming things. And it's like a really good use of technology. So it's nice to remember they're still out there.
Well, if there are any really wealthy donors out there listening to our podcast and were just inspired, go to your local opera company and see if you can implement this program. Sounds expensive as hell, but you know what? It's worth it. Let's talk some opera.
Huddle up. Let's go inside the huddle.
Chicago audiences have had a chance to enjoy Elizabeth DeShong since the very early part of her career as a young artist or a fellow of the Ryan Opera Center.
We knew her before she was cool.
Yeah, exactly. I think 2017 for me was a turning point in my understanding of who she was. She sang Adalgisa with the Norma of Sandra Radvanovsky and the Polione of Russell Thomas. And it was one of the best. It probably was my favorite night in the theater in 2017 because Sandra and Elizabeth were just shockingly good in their duets. And then I've just been paying attention to Elizabeth DeShong ever since and checking in with her. And not too long ago, she made a recording of this bizarro Mercadante opera called Il Proscritto, which we'll hear a little excerpt of in the middle of this interview. And then just earlier this year, we were talking about that new recording of Le Prophète from London Symphony Orchestra or London Philharmonic, one of those London orchestras. The role of Fides in Meyerbeer's Le Prophète. One of those roles that just doesn't end. It's like on stage the entire time and singing balls to the walls all the time. And the recording was made in conjunction with live performances of that show. And she got to sing Fides for Aix-en-Provence Festival. And apparently the audience went poop crazy, ape poop crazy for her.
They went poop crazy.
Yeah, they went poop crazy. We'll get to hear Elizabeth DeShong sing one of her signature roles, which is Bradamante in Alcina, with Haymarket Opera on August. Got it at the end. On August 24th. So let's hear a little bit of her Bradamante. This is from the tour of Alcina with Mark Minkowski and Les Musiciens de Louvre.
My guest today is Elizabeth DeShong. Elizabeth, welcome to Opera Box Score.
Yeah, thank you.
We have only about 10 minutes to talk because I just recorded an interview with you for my other job on the occasion of your return to Chicago to sing with Haymarket Opera. But before we talk about Alcina, you were just mentioning that you're about to head off to sing in Azucena.
Yes, I am. We're doing a concert version, Tirolero Festival. I've been doing Azucena now. I did it in Salzburg last fall. Some of the new repertoire that I'm working on.
Have you sung at this festival before? And you said it's Jonas Kaufmann's festival?
Well, he
curates it or something.
He's part of it. Mm-hmm.
Is he singing Manrico in this?
No, not in this. I will work with him. Though, let's see, we're going to do Aida in concert in Naples.
Oh, nice.
So Jonas will sing.
Have you sung Amneris before?
No, I haven't. She's new. She's new to me, and I get to go. I get to approach her sort of with a bang.
This is one of my favorite Verdi characters in all of opera.
Oh,
I think
she is amazing. Amazing.
And we see so many people. I mean, like Verdi really was ahead of his time, like showing us like the spoiled brats of opera who get their hearts
Yeah,
broken.
I mean, she wants what she wants.
Yeah.
But she has. I mean, she has her complexities. I mean, there's a heart in there. Um, I'm excited to get into her more and more of these next years.
It strikes me that you are singing, this very big girl repertoire, and
Yes,
yet
now.
you still keep in your schedule things like Bradamante, which you very successfully performed with Les Musiciens du Louvre and recorded it, and are now coming to Chicago to sing it on a concert stage with the Haymarket Orchestra, which I suspect will be smaller than the Musiciens du Louvre. So
yes, I think so.
It's about for you keeping it varied.
Absolutely. I mean, you have all the tools to use, and sometimes, I always kind of reference a vocal toolbox or what, and you have all these tools, but every project doesn't require all of them. So, I don't use all of my volume. I don't use everything all the time. You can't perform at maximum all the time, maximum intention, maximum musicality, but you use what you need to best serve the score you're given. So I think that's just healthy singing.
We were talking in the other interview about the triumph of having sung Fides in Aix-en-Provence. Was that 2023 or 2024? Oh, you don't have to remember. It's okay. It just strikes me
I am
that
not good with dates, but yeah, right.
You told the story about like after you finished that performance, you just went out onto your balcony at X and you like whatever gave yourself a pat on the back. I was thinking, well, it's like the Olympics. It's like,
Yes.
you're out there and like you get to just like hold your trophy up, like after doing that. But that doesn't exist enough. We don't have like some acknowledgement that yes, you did it, you won.
I don't know. I guess it just has to be a personal self-acknowledgement. But it did have that feel. I'm like, I did just perform the Vocal Olympics. I really did just do it. I mean, high five. But yeah, I mean, I mentioned it before. It was just this huge sense of relief first, like finally letting a full breath out because you're so intensely focused and determined and, in it, to then finally have accomplished it and sit back and go, wow, that went as well as I could have hoped it would go. The audience seemed to love it. The people why you do it, to share that with people, to have them respond that way, to stick it out. It's a long night to put in a seat, especially the music's fantastic and it does keep pace, but that's a long time, to sit and listen to an opera. And they were really in it to win it. And that helped so much for us to keep that going because we really did feel like we were reaching them and they were enjoying it. And that's why we do it, to connect with people.
That you sang a Meyerbeer opera in France for a French audience and they loved you.
Yes. Yes. And to be fair, that was my outing. I have not done a lot of French repertoire outside of songs, some Han songs, different things, foray, but that it hasn't been my go-to. So it took a little bit, but it was fine. I couldn't think about that, honestly. I had to kind of go, I've done my prep, I did my work. I feel confident, but now I have to forget where I am and the language I'm singing and not put that added stress on myself. I'm just going to make beautiful music and trust in my abilities and let the chips fall. Luckily, they fell in a favorable way.
Well, now that we know that you have this inside of you, I mean, we've been watching it in Chicago. We've been watching how, year after year, you're just able to do more and more. Especially, I think your outing as Adalgisa with Sandra Radvanovsky, which is another Olympic feat. I mean, Sandra is just pouring out sound.
Oh, yeah.
And those duets are sort of tricky in that it's not like Rossini where the key changes, like it goes down like a fourth for the lower voice. It's like you stay in the same key as the
Yeah, we
soprano.
really
So
do.
it's really two sopranos.
Yes, it does. It's nice if you can. It is nice when you can find that balance of having a tone that is different, but being able to find the ring in the voices to be in the same space. So I always, I'm like, I will support you. Whatever it is whatever color you do up there, I'm going to find a way. I am going to be there and match it. You know what? We're going to be one in those moments. We're going to do it. And I mean, she's such a wonderful musician and tremendous colleague. So that makes it easy too. But it's nice when you can find that balance.
Right.
And have
But
it
I
come
mean,
off well.
with some other singers, she could easily sing them off the stage.
Oh, sure. Just sheer volume wise. There's that. I can make noise when I have to.
Well, is there a role that you'd like to put out and like manifest here on the podcast? Say, you know what? I really would love a chance to sing this thing now that you all know that I can do this. Is there something that you've been dying to do?
I get this question and I stumble on it every time, and I should have just a go-to, like have me do this, but I should. I know I should. I know he should. My management will be like, why don't you have an answer for that?
That's okay.
I get it. And we can I'm happy to say that. No. And that's a terrible, terrible answer, but I'm going to give it and I'm going to back it up. I really do let time sort of tell me what is right. I've always sort of held it as an ideal to say, don't project on your voice what you want to do, because I think there can be a lot of that, and it can lead you into dangerous vocal territory sometimes. I'd like to do a Samson and Delilah. I would like to do. But otherwise, no. I do take it as it comes. What my voice tells me is comfortable. What just kind of presents itself along the way. What project is interesting? Because I don't know. I started out as a pianist, and you can play whatever you want. You can play whatever suits your mood. And I guess I've taken some of that attitude into being a singer. I want the variety. My mind wants the variety. That's why I love Britain so much. I've done a million Hermias. I love it. So anytime I can do something different, I love the John Adams I get to do. I do want to do another Death of Klinghoffer, though. I've sung that in concert many times. If anybody ever does a staged one, I would love to put Marilyn Klinghoffer on her feet. See, I have these obscure sort of seemingly random loves and desires when it comes to what I like to sing. But I guess I'll just leave it at that. I kind of take it as it comes, and whatever. And I do love the obscure stuff. I love to, doing the thing that maybe no one else can do. The stuff that seems impossible, or so you need just the right person to do it. I love taking on that kind of challenge because I'm competitive with myself. I'm not competitive in terms of me and other singers. I couldn't care less about, sort of, I don't know, the accolades exactly, but I am competitive with myself, and I want to take on those challenges and know myself that I can do it. So, I mean, whatever's interesting, I'll take.
That was a perfect way to end. I love it. I liked your answer a lot, actually. It was more meaningful than just whatever, Sappho,
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm continuously just blown away by the balls you have. So, really, yeah, you go for it. You go for your phrases. You give beautiful tone, and then you let things be thrilling. And that's we need more risk takers out there. And I hope you feel like you're being risky. Maybe you're so confident in your preparation that it's actually just in the muscle memory. But when I listen to it, it sounds like, okay, she's taking a chance on this. And I appreciate it so much. It really comes through,
Thanks. I think that, I think that it is just, I am confident in my technique, and I don't ever think about technique when I sing. I never stand on stage and I'm like, okay, here comes that note. What am I going to physically do to navigate it? No, I feel like all that work has to be done off stage, and you have to trust and relax. And then whatever sound I want to make, I feel like I can do it if it's supported and emotionally connected, because then you're vocally connected. I don't know. I can't take the voice away from the words, and I don't know. It's never a choice to be risky. It's just raw, I think. It's just present, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I'm nowhere near as accomplished of a singer, but I have done some singing, and there are days where I feel like, okay, if I articulate this coloratura, I know I will have less breath for the end of the phrase, but it'll be more exciting if I articulate it. Those are the decisions I make in the moment. Like, we're like, okay, well, today I don't feel like I've got my breath. So I'm gonna smooth this one out so I can get to the. So there are things like that when I listen to this Prosciutto aria, this cabaletta. It's like, it's so much you're showing off. It's like, she's going for everything. So
yeah. And the recording process for that was so fun, with Carlo Rizzi and everybody. Like, it was so fun that when we were recording it, it was just like showing off, just, and he had so much joy in hearing it, and everybody got so excited that it was just like, okay, let's do it again. I bet I can do this thing. Like, it was just play, play, and I mean, I think you get your best stuff when the atmosphere is that way, when people show joy in what you're giving, that you want to give more, and you feel supported and like they're enjoying, not judging. You can do your best work that way.
My thanks to Elizabeth DeShong's PR team for helping me coordinate that interview. As we speak, I believe Elizabeth is in some festival, maybe Jonas Kaufmann's festival in Austria or Germany, singing a concert version of Trovatore before she comes to Chicago to sing Bradamante. Once again, the performances of Alcina, starring Nicole Cabell, are August 24th. The performance is on August 24th at Ravinia Festival. That's an opera by Handel, George.
He's taking notes furiously every time he listens to our podcast. And make sure you subscribe to our podcast to keep up to date on all of the Handel operas that have come out since 1700. On Spotify, you can click follow. Apple Podcasts, hit the plus sign. You know how to do it. Hey, Ashley, Oliver, what's this? I've discovered something on the ground. Let me pick it up. It seems to be chalk, and I'm feeling the urge to talk.
Oh, gosh.
Chalk Talk on Opera Box Score.
We now have to talk about a new opera and classical music sexual harassment database, because apparently we're at the point in history where one of those A has to be created and B, we have to talk about it. So gentlemen, I forwarded to you last week a little website called wehadnoidea.org. This is a comprehensive database website of all of the reported instances of sexual harassment and sexual abuse in the worlds of opera and orchestra and chamber and classical music at large. The idea for this came in 2024 when Sammy Sussman's article came out about Matthew Mucky and Liam Wong about all the stuff that went down at the New York Phil.
Which we talked about at length.
Which we absolutely talked about at length. Why? Because it's bad. And so the common refrain from organizations, from people in power, was just, we had no idea, which cannot possibly be true given the absolute dearth of information that this LLC that's been formed, We Track Foibles, or WTF for short, has assembled from all of the vetted reports in these egregious outcomes that we're having over here in classical music. And so, yes, we've all talked about this sort of stuff. We've talked at length about several of these instances for actual calendar years now. I, however, got to be in my bonnet about this because this is the first aggregate that puts everything in one place, and the sheer vision of seeing it all assembled together, that result is very striking. And we've been talking about them as if they are one-offs. We're not the only show that talks about this sort of stuff in the world of classical music, but people keep brushing it off as a one-off, or it's not happening here, or we had no idea, or we can do better. Can we do better? Because I don't see any changes, because these things keep happening. Scott Piper was fired from University of Michigan's opera department last week. So these things keep happening. And so I am hopeful that the impact of seeing all of these things together en masse will help some of these people in power really start to pay attention to this sort of stuff. There are more talented people than there are classical music jobs. So I don't think we need to keep protecting these people based on some sort of an artistic merit. I have talked a lot. I would now like to kick it over to my colleagues. Weston, what did you think when you saw this website that I sent you?
Well, I had a sort of similar reaction to you, just like it's set up so it has, a list of people, but also you can, break it down by region. There's a map.
It's like Zillow for sexual offenders.
It really is. It's a similar sort of effect, which is really quite jarring to see. It even lists companies, symphonies that have worked with these people on a regular basis. It does include, people who have, since passed, James Levine, of course, and some older infamous people on the list as well. But it does a really good job of citing sources. There's an about section where it talks about the process for vetting. And this is not a rumor website. They are only posting people who have been, who have had confirmed cases, legal, documentation, things like that. So if you're worried about, a rumor mill, this is not what that is. I think it's, I really did have a kind of an emotional reaction when I saw it because, we have been talking about it for so long, and it's always unpleasant when it happens, but just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And this is just the beginning, too, because before we start recording, Ashley, you mentioned that there were a bunch of submissions that they haven't even gotten to yet, because this is a small organization doing this, that are going to be, processed and, verified before they get put up. And it's sad that it's kind of a necessary thing, but it is unfortunately, I think very necessary. We're at kind of the point now in the media cycle where a lot of the people who got called out, during the Me Too movement are starting to kind of raise their heads up again, I think. I feel like I see more and more people, not just in the classical music world, but outside of it as well, who are trying to be like, okay, is the coast clear now? Can I get
Domingo Daniels, yeah,
Domingo Daniels, but even like, Kevin Spacey and stuff, like people like that, who are like, just kind of, like poking their heads up again because it's feeling like it's been long enough so that the general public has forgotten how bad it was, even if they remember, and I think that this is kind of an important niche to fill. And I think it's also a good resource if you are a younger professional who might be feeling a little bit crazy about, something going on in their career. They can check this website and be reassured, oh, yes, this is happening and is still happening and has happened. And organizations don't always do the best job of, rarely do the best job of actually handling it properly. So, yeah, and it was... most of the individual cases, like I said, are old news. We've covered them before on Opera Box Score. All the ones pertaining to opera, certainly over the past, since we've been on the air. But there's always more that you don't know about, that you're like,
unfortunately,
them too, it sucks.
As of now, there are 32 offenders who are cataloged on this site with receipts, with links to the articles in which they were, the story was written about their misconduct. So we're just, going on good faith that people like Anne Majette famously, did her research and did, and checked her facts before she was able to publish. And we assume, an institution like Washington Post, would have made sure that that article didn't go to print unless they were fact checked. So we can say with, 95%, 98% confidence that anybody's on this list did what they were accused of, on this website. And that people will be added to it. And I just can imagine, HR departments all over the world, like refreshing this website. Like,
truly.
Did we make it on here? But one of the,
go on, Oliver.
One of the things that I think though is, meaningful, for this website that kind of differentiates it is showing which organizations these people have affiliations with. So you're not clean. You would think an organization like whatever XYZ famous orchestra, oh, they must be fine. They wouldn't allow this to happen. But no, they might have been part of the cover up. This school might have been part of the cover up. They knew. So, the creators of this website just wants us to see the impact, of having this person in the field going from job to job. And maybe there are stories that are yet to be uncovered from when they worked at this young artist program or when they worked as a teacher at this conservatory.
Agreed. And, Weston alluded to this earlier. There have already been a hearty stack of submissions because there is a participate button because the organizers of this knew that there would be other stories out there. And one of the folks who is not running the site, but is sort of a close ally of it, Catherine Needleman, reported that in the first 44 hours that the website was released, there were 100 submissions. So this just tells you kind of where this is. One of the other things that differentiates this for me is that it's not just about naming names and telling the stories. While that is important, while assembling for impact is important, there's also a section that has resources. It talks about how to get educated about this, how to speak up about this sort of stuff. It's got a link to bystander training. It's, so it's wanting to be part of the solution. It's speaking very specifically to like, these things are terrible, but here are some things that we can do about it. It's got a section for students, alumni, and parents on how to do research, how to understand what the guidelines are at your place of business or education. And so I really appreciate that it's not just the naming of the names, but it's here's how we're going to move forward. And I think a lot of that can be summed up with one of the things that's on their FAQ page. And I will just go ahead and read this because I think it's a nice way to close this out. Classical music is incredibly powerful and we love it. Many organizations have the same issues. The highest level of the executive branch of the U.S. government has the same issue. It's a tremendous waste of goodwill, energy, and talent to accept this kind of behavior. If we can't solve it for classical music, a niche field where many practitioners take pride in high-minded idealism, then what chance do we have of wiping it from the world stage? So thank you to the folks at We Had No Idea. I am so sorry we had to create this, but I am so glad that it exists and that they are suggesting ways to move forward.
This just in. The 2-minute drill.
All right, listen up. Here's everything you need to know about what happened in Operaland this week.
The New York Times is reassigning classical music critic Zachary Woolfe to a, quote, new role along with 3 other arts critics. The Times says it will hire new reporters to fill the 4 now vacant positions. Quote, our readers are hungry for trusted guides to help them make sense of this complicated landscape, not only through traditional reviews, but also with essays, news story forms, videos, and experimentation with other platforms, said culture editor Sia Michelle. It is important to bring different perspectives to core disciplines as we help our coverage expand beyond the traditional review.
J.K. Valeri, the Italian Ministry of Culture has reversed its plan, allowing Valery Gergiev to make his first appearance in the West since the beginning of the Russian invasion of Ukraine at this summer's Estate da Re Festival. As explained by the Italian Culture Minister Alessandro Giuli, a concert by a Putin ally in Gergiev might send the wrong message. He says art is free and cannot be censored. Propaganda, however, even if done with talent, is something else. That's why the concert by Putin's friend and advisor, Valery Gergiev, which the Campania regional government wanted, organized, and paid for, risks giving the wrong message.
A cast member at the Royal Opera House unfurled a Palestinian flag on stage during a curtain call for Il Trovatore on Saturday night. A spokesperson said, quote, the display of the flag was spontaneous and an unauthorized action by the artist. It was not approved by the Royal Ballet and Opera and is not in line with our commitment to political impartiality.
But that's not all that happened at Trovatore. Baritone Juan Jesus Rodriguez released a statement blasting the production, as well as conductor Carlo Rizzi and director Adele Thomas. We singers had to overcome the challenge of not falling down the stairs, or in my case, not passing out from the heat caused by the costume, or seeing my aria ridiculed on stage, Rodriguez wrote on Instagram. All this while having to look at a musical director who seems to care little if you need to breathe or if your voice can be heard above the orchestra. Accompanying is already a fiction. What outrages me most is the lack of humanity, the deification and the mistreatment, and the abuse of power. Never again will I repeat with these two, and these are air quotes, geniuses.
The Royal Ballet and Opera responded to Rodriguez in a statement saying, quote, while we respect the right of individuals to express their views, we do not recognize the characterization of the production or the working environment as described. We take all feedback seriously and will continue to review concerns through the appropriate internal channels.
Opera Philadelphia has announced that Grammy-nominated composer and performer Natalie Joachim will serve as its composer-in-residence for the 2025-26 season. She is also an assistant professor of composition at Princeton University and joins recent composers who have held residencies there, including Courtney Bryan and Tyshawn Sorey.
Major awards. Paris National Opera music director Alexander Neef has been awarded the Chevalier of the Legion of Honor. Meanwhile, British-Irish tenor Andrew Henley won the 2025 Pendine International Voice of the Future competition in Wales, along with £3,000 for his performances of Que Gelida Manina from Bohème, Gebet by Woolfe, and Love Winter Riding by Frank Bridge.
Crunching the numbers, Detroit Opera is facing a financial crisis that has resulted in the cancellation of its 25-26 season opener, Puccini's The Girl of the Golden West. According to tax documents, the company has suffered more than $3 million in losses in fiscal year 2024 due to a number of factors, the largest being a loss of $1.7 million in government grants alone. Donations also fell by $145,000 over the course of that year, and overall revenue declined by $1.2 million. Quote, this difficult decision was made due to an unforeseen shortfall in production funding this season. All contracted artists will be fully compensated according to their agreements, and we look forward to welcoming them to Detroit for future productions.
On the disabled list, Marina Rebecca has withdrawn from the final performances in the title role of Norma at La Scala, making way for soprano Jessica Pratt to make her house debut as Norma at La Scala, folks. She also sang Casa Diva in the original key of G major, up a tone from F.
Exit stage right, Scottish mezzo-soprano Rosemary Gunn, who sang with Opera Australia over a distinguished 4-decade career, has passed away. Gunn joined Opera Australia in 1972 and was known for her powerful voice, commanding presence, and remarkable versatility. Roles included Amneris, Fricka, Dorabella, Malika, Iolante, Queen of the Fairies, and Kate Pinkerton. Gunn was married to bass baritone Graham Williams, a longtime chorister with Opera Australia.
French mezzo-soprano Béatrice Uriah-Monzon has passed away at age 61. Uriah-Monzon's breakthrough role came in 1993 as Carmen at the Paris Opera, a performance that catapulted her to international fame. She went on to deliver leading performances in roles such as Eboli, Amneris, Saint-Saëns as Dalila, and Judith in Bluebeard's Castle, and she shone on famous stages from New York to Moscow.
English conductor Roger Norrington has died at 91. He was best known for historically informed performances of Baroque, classical, and Romantic music, and applying historically informed principles to modern orchestras. He was musical director at the Kent Opera, the London Classical Players, Bournemouth Sinfonietta, and Orchestra of St. Luke's. During the 90s, he was principal conductor of the Camerata Salzburg and Stuttgart Radio Symphony Orchestra, where he developed the Stuttgart sound.
And on this day, July 21st, first performances include Offenbach'sLichen et Fritzchen, a bop, which premiered in 1863 in Bad Ems. In 1962, Robert Stolz's operetta Traumensel premiered in Bregenz, and in 1965, Cecil Effinger's Cyrano de Bergerac was performed in Boulder, Colorado. Birthdays include French-Belgian soprano Marguerite Artaud, born in Paris, also known as Désirée Artaud de Padilla. She was born in 1835. American operatic bass and the general manager of the Metropolitan Opera, Herbert Witherspoon, was born in Buffalo, New York on this day in 1873. Witherspoon died suddenly on May 10th of 1935 at the Met. He was only 6 weeks into his term as GM. In 1906, German soprano Anneliese Kupper was born in Glatz. She created the title role in Strauss's opera Die Liebe der Danae. In 1934, British opera director Jonathan Miller was born, and happy birthday to Hungarian soprano Sylvia Schasch, born July 21st in 1951.
And that is your 2-minute drill.
Just a little bit of Anneliese Kupper singing the transformation of Daphne, O bleib geliebter Tag, in a studio recording with the Munich Philharmonic, conducted by Fritz Lehmann. Beautiful Strauss sound. She worked with Strauss. Strauss was crazy about her. You know, if you want to know what Strauss was thinking when he was writing these roles, it's voices like that. And I wish Matt was here to say it more pretty. But there's something about the way these German sopranos use overtone as opposed to like bel canto, vibrato. They just like have a way of like placing the sound, and it rides the high end of the pitch, and that's what shoots their voice like over the orchestra. Of course, there has to be some metal in the sound too, but yeah, to keep the voice beautiful, but also just have that extra that noise that just it hits you between your eyes, you know. And you know, it's a studio recording. We can't really tell how big the sound was, but I assume with the Strauss Orchestra, it was a pretty big sound. Lots of clips we could have played today. We could have listened to Béatrice Uriah-Monzon or Roger Norrington or Jessica Pratt. You could actually hear Jessica Pratt's Costa Diva complete if you follow her on Instagram. What an amazing role to make your La Scala debut in. I mean,
I know.
Really
just skip into the hard part.
It could be your house debut or the last thing you ever sing. Let's go. Norrington is a conductor that, I followed a lot in the 90s because I was just learning about historical informed performance practice. And I think many of us will remember that weird magic flute with the fast tempos. I think it was the first one. It was like, wait a second, this is so fast, That's thanks to Roger Norrington, y'all.
You just got to wave your hands real fast.
Yeah.
That's the secret to historically informed performance. Oliver, when you were listing all of those singers and describing their various qualities, I was like, wow, if you were writing this in the New York Times, maybe, there is a spot open. Poor Zachary is out. Yeah, this story is really interesting. I do want to, before we get started, I do want to say that the 4 spots are all from sort of the arts and culture section, but it's not, obviously Zachary Woolfe is the only classical music one, but it's also pop music, television, and another one along those lines. So it's kind of taking a lot of really big names in their fields and kind of being like, okay, you're moving somewhere else.
You've been reassigned.
It's like getting a desk job if you're a beat cop, and it's like, you're being desked. Maybe they're going to become cops. I figured it out.
I know there's more to this story. The fact that Woolfe hasn't said anything publicly means we need to wait another day or two before he will. But this is the thing that really got to me is that, they put out this statement that says, our readers are hungry for trusted guides to help them make sense of this complicated landscape. See, Michelle, honey, we had those. You had 4 people in those jobs. We did trust those critics. What exactly is happening? And of course, it's all coming on the heels of, and again, I don't want to allege anything, I don't want to point any fingers, but it's definitely coming on the heels of another absolutely unjust cancellation in the form of Stephen Colbert, and that has definitely been alluded to as being a way to appease people at the top. So I'm wondering if this has something to do with that. These are all allegedly. We know nothing, but still, it's something's fishy about this.
It is a very strange move, and I think it will become more clear when the replacements are announced. Frankly, I'm just, glad that, when I first saw the headline, Zachary Woolfe, no longer there. I will say, I don't always agree with Zachary Woolfe's takes, his opinion is, neither here nor there so much as, usually when you see classical music reviewer out at a major newspaper, that means there's no more classical music reviews. It seems like there still will be a classical music critic at the Times, which is the most important critic position in the United States, at least, for classical music. And the statement about we're expanding into sort of other stuff, it sounds like they're going to try to get into video or something, maybe podcasting. But yeah, I think when those names are announced, the motives will be revealed if one of the critics doesn't break their silence, of course. It's a very strange and unexpected move. Honestly, in the pop music world, I forget the name of the pop music critic at the New York Times, but they're an even bigger deal over there. Than Zachary Woolfe is to us, I think.
Totally.
So
yeah.
it's a fascinating move. I don't know if it's a progressive move. I don't know if it's a regressive move. And knowing our luck, it'll probably break the day this episode gets published. So feel free to write to us at mailbag@operaboxscore, complaining about how he couldn't see the future. But maybe bad, maybe okay. I don't know. Maybe bad, though, is apparently Trovatore at Royal Opera House. What a mess. Obviously there was at the beginning of the week, there was the usual sort of back and forth about the appropriateness of protesting something during a curtain call, which honestly I feel is not a very interesting subject to debate. We have had it a lot. But I think the immediately being followed on the heels of Rodriguez absolutely tearing into both the director and the conductor for the performance is that was more of a, oh, okay, what's going on here kind of moment.
Well, and I'm trying to make sure that I read this correctly. It seems as if Rodriguez posted this like right as the final show of the run was starting. He didn't even wait until the final bow. Like, he posted it and then went on stage and did his thing.
We don't know. We need to hear from other people. But he's complaining about Carlo Rizzi as a conductor. There isn't not a lot of people complaining about Carlo Rizzi as a conductor. He's not somebody who doesn't know how to conduct bel canto. In fact, he's the artistic director of Opera Rara. So some might say he might be an expert in conducting Verdi. I don't know anything about Adele Thomas, so maybe a combination of his just bad relationship with Carlo Rizzi and Adele Thomas's, maybe she's not great at blocking Juan Jesus Rodriguez. Maybe she did do something that took away from the prestige he felt his aria should have been afforded. We don't know. I haven't seen the production. I'd be curious to hear from anybody who's seen this Trovatore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did any of this come through? Does any of this seem like, oh yeah, he had a right to complain because that was really stupid, you know?
Well, and he was sweating the whole time. He says so. He's got that hot costume. He's trying to sing for his life. He's sweating to death. You know how it is when you're hot. You're mad. You're just mad about everything. So I'm not saying that's the reason he popped off, but I'm sure it definitely didn't help.
You know who else is hot under the collar is the accountant at Detroit Opera.
Oh, bless.
This news really bummed me out.
It did,
for
yeah.
a lot of reasons. I mean, obviously, the having to cancel a show is rough. We saw a rash of those over the last few years, ever since COVID. A lot of companies expecting they were able to do something and then realizing they couldn't. I believe Chicago Opera Theater did that, here in town, and plenty of others in the general sphere. But this is the first really big loss that can at least in part be attributed to the withdrawal of federal funding, because
scratch the in part.
Yeah, well, I mean, I will say the revenue decline is also very worrying over a fairly short period of time. 1.2 million is a lot, but 1.7 million is even more.
Is more. Yeah, exactly. That's why I was like, what would have made that loss in revenue feel a lot lighter if you still had 1.7 million in secured government grants that you thought you were going to get.
Yeah, you could have still done Girl of the Gold. You could have done Fanchula, but with cheaper Party City costumes instead. But
with Sunset Boulevard, Jamie Lloyd, all black ensembles for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. This is really concerning. I mean, Detroit Opera is, in the Midwest. They're by virtue of being in the Midwest, they're an ally of us Chicagoans here on the podcast.
And Yuval is a friend of the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And what is interesting, though, that I do want to point out too, is that they're choosing to eliminate La Fanciulla del West, which is the only standard rep opera on the list. They're also doing Handmaid's Tale. They're doing a new opera. The only one they canceled was The War Horse, which is kind of defies conventional wisdom as far as making money. Although La Fanciulla is certainly an expensive show because you need a big old chorus and all that jazz.
But does it defy who Detroit Opera has sort of made themselves to be?
Yeah,
One of the things they are is avant-garde, new, staging operas in parking garages. So that was actually one of the things that for me made sense, was get rid of the big fancy one that's a little bit more of the standard repertoire, because everything else that they have in their season is a little more sort of on vibe with who Detroit Opera has been in the last couple of seasons.
I'm just worried that it's turning their back on the legacy audience, and it's the legacy audience that is probably donating the most money, and this is going to be a test to see if they make it to their next season when the legacy audience feels like there was nothing for them.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting. I hope the cancellation is not just a panic. We have to pull the most expensive thing, and an actual thought that they had that the standard rep isn't making us money in Detroit. I would love it if there was the weird stuff that's actually getting them the money. But as with all of these stories we've talked about, time will tell. So let's wrap this show up.
Good call, bad call on Opera Box Score.
Good call, bad call. That's how we wrap the show up around these parts. And Oliver, I think you and I might have the same good call today.
Yesterday, I saw this show called Secret Bird. It's not opera per se, but it is immersive theater with singing. And if you have heard about this show by Bill Barclay, the director and founder of Concert Theater Works, if it's coming to a city near you, they are on tour right now with it. I think it's going to California next. Go see this thing. You will not regret it.
It is so good.
It's amazing. And the nuts and bolts of it is Gesualdo Six, the all-male vocal sextet from England, is performing Bird's Mass for Five Voices in period costume. And the space is meant to look like a 16th century underground recusant Catholic mass.
Oh my God.
And I'll leave it like that. It's beautiful, but it's also very upsetting and ultimately very moving. So if it's coming to you, go see Secret Bird.
Ashley Hardgrave.
You may have heard me mention a couple of weeks ago on this show the absolutely stacked cast of Jesus Christ Superstar that's going up at the Hollywood Bowl, and I could not get the production off my mind. And I'm in the midst of what I'm calling the Summer of Yes, which is where I am making choices that are going to bring me joy. And I was just hemming and hawing and thinking about this show and how cool it would be to see it. And a friend of mine looked me in the face and said, Ashley, we're getting older. We finally have money. Well, a little. We don't have as much time as we used to go and do things we love. Go and do something you love. And so I am going to LA to the Hollywood Bowl to see this production of Jesus Christ Superstar.
Incredible.
I'm very excited about it. So my wish for all of you and my good call listeners is that I hope this is your summer of yes. Find your yes. Go do something you love. You deserve it.
As I said before, my good call is also Secret Bird. I mean, seconding Oliver, absolutely go see it if you are in any of the cities along the tour. I have another call, which is more breaking news than anything. This happened while we were discussing the 2-minute drill. This is talking about Valery Gergiev's concert being finally canceled in Italy after everyone was insisting that it would happen for several weeks. The soprano Carita Matila went on Twitter and said, and I'm going to quote here, these are her words, not mine. Some people showed some backbone, not the Italian concert organizer, slimy Russian ass licker. People with backbone won. Russians have no place on the world art stage as long as they continue attacking Ukraine. Well, that's putting your money where your mouth is. That is it for this week's edition of America's Talk radio show about opera. Make sure you subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts, get your voice heard, and find links to stuff we've talked about at our website, operaboxscore.com. That is also where you can put your money and anti-Putin quotes where our mouths are. Give back to the OBS using the Support the Team tab. Your announcer is Norm Waddell. Your creative consultant is Oliver Camacho, and your audio editor is me. The executive producer of the OBS is George Cedarquist. For co-hosts Ashley Hardgrave and our guest Elizabeth DeShong, I'm Weston Williams, asking you to continue the conversation about opera as you overcome the challenge of not falling down the stairs. We're back with an all-new show next week when we go Inside the Huddle with Maestro Enrique Mazzola. Plus, you get more opera headlines, more hot takes, and more Stuttgart sound. Join us.